Welcome back to Paul's Tech News. I can't tell you how excited I was for yet another NVIDIA graphics card to launch this week. I really can't. I also can't tell you that you shouldn't buy one of the new $600 RTX 4070's because many of you already have, but I can tell you that you could still buy one today, even days after retail sales went live, because at the very least they are still in stock. And believe it or not, that's probably the least confusing summary of the RTX 4070 launch that has yet been posted to the internet. Also contributing to our general befuddlement this week, Zen 5 and 6 code names were revealed, Intel is exiting the server business, and AMD may finally have a legitimate answer to NVIDIA's CUDA platform, as well as the first ever GPUs with 80 gigabits per second DisplayPort connectors. So let's all fuddle ourselves together as we ingurgitate this week's tech news.
Excellent!
Thermaltake's original SWAFan series revolutionized case fans by adding swappable fan blades, and now they're even better with the SWAFan EX, featuring magnetic connectors that daisy-chain fans together to simplify installation and cable management. They're still available in black or snow trim with 12 or 14 centimeter sizes, they still feature high static pressure for use with radiators, and they still come with an extra set of reversed fan blades, easy to swap in so you can show off your fan's good side no matter where it's installed in your case. For more on the SWAFan EX from Thermaltake, click the sponsor link in the video description. Years of gaslighting and mass psychological manipulation of the PC gaming community came to fruition on Thursday this week as NVIDIA launched the RTX 4070, a $600 graphics card that notably does not cost $1,000 or $1,600, so that's pretty nice, right? Scores of confounded reviewers who posted test results when the review embargo lifted Wednesday fell in line without question, like beaten dogs returning to an abusive master, echoing the refrain that while the 4070 isn't phenomenally powerful, it's also not insulting in terms of price to performance in the way that the RTX 4080 was, nor has stock been instantly scooped up by scalpers so that you can only buy one for 50 to 100% above MSRP. And what more impetus does one really need to convince them to part ways with $600 of their cash money? That's what I look for in a graphics card. It's not absolutely terrible, and you can add it to cart. To be fair, the positive pitch for this GPU isn't wholly unreasonable. It's on par with a 3080 Ti at 1080p, or about RTX 3080 performance at 1440, although it falls disappointingly short at 4K. It sports excellent efficiency with just a 200-watt TGP, and can run cool and quiet even with a modest 2-slot cooler. And it is a 40 series card with support for the newest DLSS 3.0 stuff like frame generation. And if you're okay with a $600 card that's best suited for 1440p, which I think is a stretch, it does offer competitive value at MSRP. But not so much when you consider actual current retail pricing, which could be another actual positive note for this launch. AMD has responded with further price drops on their Radeon RX 6000 series GPUs, with the RX 6800 now available for $470 and the 6800 XT now showing up for $540. The 6950 XT also has a few models going for $650 this week, offering better price to performance values, a 16 gig VRAM setup instead of 12, and, for those who were about to make a video card purchase one way or another, a way to tell NVIDIA in the most effective way possible that you do not approve of how they've been pricing and positioning their products, the RTX 4070 included. And they're not planning to make any changes to their MO either, if stories about RTX 40 series output are any indication. And for anyone who had gotten the impression that the RTX 4070 is a good deal, here's one more look at my history chart comparing what 70 class cards used to offer performance-wise versus last gen. There used to be two ways to get more GPU performance: spend more money or wait for the next gen to launch. NVIDIA seems to want spending more money to be the only viable option. Speaking of the ways NVIDIA tries to convince people to spend more money, Cyberpunk 2077's RT Overdrive mode went public this week, and quite a few outlets tested performance and visuals with full path-traced lighting enabled. And to counter my cynical take on the RTX 4070, this is actually really cool, both visually and technologically. And if you want a full breakdown, I highly recommend the Gamers Nexus video that's linked in the description. Although an RTX 4090 only managing about 20 FPS at 4K is notable, as path tracing is very resource intensive, it does shine a light on how NVIDIA's DLSS and frame generation can bring frame rates back up to playable values in the 60 to 90 FPS range, while largely maintaining the impressive visual fidelity and realistic lighting. But this is also just meant to be a tech demo for now, and I wouldn't fault anyone for saying that they don't see much difference between the existing ray tracing methods and full path tracing with RT Overdrive. For me, this builds excitement for the future of PC gaming and the eye candy that might be unlocked with new and more powerful graphics cards, but the timing is intentional, I believe, because NVIDIA wants people to watch this and then go buy a 40 series GPU. They also want you to think that all the cool kids are doing that too, per this NVIDIA blog post that went up on Wednesday touting the 80% or so of RTX 40 series owners who have turned on ray tracing and DLSS, according to data harvested by their GeForce Experience software. Never mind details like, did those gamers keep those features turned on? Were they turned on for all games? Did they just turn them on once and then back off? Perhaps I, and you as well, should take this data from NVIDIA about how awesome their product features are and how many people use them with a grain of salt. Speaking of salty tech news, AMD did their best to throw shade at the RTX 4070 launch by having their PR reps point out Radeon 6000 series fire sales and via blog posts like this one about how much VRAM you need. But their more substantive announcements were actually from the Radeon Pro lineup, which will see the RDNA 3-based W7900 and W7800 launch sometime this quarter. The specific date has not yet been disclosed. The simple description is that these will be the workstation equivalents of the Radeon RX 7900 XTX and 7900 XT consumer cards with ECC memory support, and, as Ryan Smith notes, they'll be the first ever GPUs with full DisplayPort 2.1 UHBR20 support, aka DP80, which stands for 80 gigabits per second of bandwidth for connecting up 8K displays without compromise. So suck it, HDMI 2.1a, with your piddly 48 gigabits per second. You're worthless and weak, and the NVIDIA CUDA platform can suck it too. Or so I imagine AMD saying, as the Radeon team revealed Friday that ROCm support will start rolling out for consumer GPUs on the Windows operating system. ROCm is the Radeon Open Compute Ecosystem, which is a software stack that's roughly comparable to NVIDIA's CUDA implementation. It allows software devs to leverage Radeon GPU resources for GPU compute tasks, although it is nowhere near as widely adopted as CUDA and has been limited to Linux-based OSs and professional-grade video cards in the past. On Thursday, Tom's Hardware revealed that the ROCm SDK is coming to Windows, and the aging Radeon R9 Fury already has full support. The RX 6900 XT and RX 6600 are also listed with partial support, with more expected in the future. So it's good to see AMD providing NVIDIA with competition in other areas besides slashing 6950 XT prices to make the RTX 4070 look bad. Sometimes I worry that I've said too much, which is why I balance things out with tech briefs,
where I say too little.
Intel is exiting the server market. Sounds like headline news, but fear not, they aren't nixing their Xeon line of processors or anything, but per a statement made to Serve the Home on Wednesday, they are shuttering their DSG, or Data Center Solutions Group, which previously built and sold fully equipped servers with said Xeon CPUs. This is yet another streamlining and cost-cutting measure enacted by Intel's management, but their server designs will be carried on by MiTAC, a long-standing ODM partner of DSG who provides edge-to-cloud IT solutions. So I guess that's a silver lining. You know, at the edge of the cloud. Never mind. An AMD engineer has leaked internal code names for several upcoming CPU architecture generations, it was revealed Wednesday, and they actually sound kinda cool. Current Gen 5nm Zen 4 will be succeeded by 3nm Zen 5, and the Zen 5 CPU core itself is codenamed Nirvana, with the CCD built on it being called Eldora. Zen 6 will be a 2nm design with CPU cores codenamed Morpheus, and no name yet revealed for the CCD. Maybe they'll go with Neo. These designs should find their way into both consumer Ryzen CPUs and EPYC processors for workstations, although Zen 5 probably won't arrive until 2024, and Zen 6 is expected in late 2025. Meanwhile, I have to decide whether to take the red pill and close this bit off with a Matrix reference, or the blue pill and go for Nirvana. All apologies, but I just can't decide. There's something in the way. That was dumb. I am genuinely excited to attend Computex this year, so I hope everything goes smoothly for that trip. Computex takes place in Taipei, Taiwan, usually at the beginning of June, but the past 3 installments have been cancelled or turned into hybrid remote events in the wake of COVID. We're expecting an unfettered convention for 2023 though, which will run May 30th to June 2nd, and on Friday they revealed that NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang will be kicking things off with a keynote on May 29th. It's still too early to say for sure, but some are already speculating that Jensen's involvement bodes well for the chances that a major hardware announcement or launch might happen as well. Maybe he'll relent and actually launch the RTX 4060 at a reasonable price. Probably not, but at least I get to go back to Taiwan to gorge myself on Xiaolongbao. Finally, we close with an update on 2 recent hacking incidents. Western Digital is having a rough go of it, as I covered last week, and things don't seem to be getting much better. TechCrunch says they talked to the actual hackers, who claim to have stolen 10 terabytes of company data while also hamstringing Western Digital's MyCloud services, which took 10 days to get back online. The hackers say they won't budge until they receive an 8-figure ransom from WD, so we'll have to wait and see who folds first. MSI's situation, meanwhile, is not quite as dire, fortunately, but for those who weren't aware, I wanted to share this story which came to light late last week. MSI's network was breached in a ransomware attack on April 7th, but MSI has now publicly acknowledged the situation and said it has had no significant impact on our business in terms of financial and operational currently. Although they did say that the attack was significant. 1.5 terabytes of data was taken, but this time the attackers are asking for a $4 million ransom, a bit shy of WD's 8-figure sum, although there's no indication of whether MSI plans to pay that or not. The hackers might go public with MSI's data next week if they don't get their money, but in the meantime, MSI says their business is still up and running, and that you should only download drivers and stuff from the official MSI website, which I already did anyway, and maybe MSI should take that advice as well. But there you have it, guys, tech news for the week, and if you liked it, click that like button or leave me a comment down below. While you're down there, all the articles I talked about today are linked in the video's description if you're interested, and you can check out my store at paulshardware.net for high-quality merchandise, t-shirts, hoodies, beer sets, and more. Subscribing to my channel is always a good call too. Thanks again for watching, everyone, and we'll see you next week.